Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bova.
Here.
Mrs.
Mr. Rucci and Mr. Dr. Singer both supposed to be on there.
I'm here.
Here.
Mrs. Delaney.
Here.
Mrs. McBride. Here. Ms. Mungo. Here. Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Dr. Singh.
Here.
Mrs. Warning.
Here.
And Mr. Williams. Here.
Thank you. So of course, this is a study session meeting, and we had an executive session at 5:15 to discuss contracts and personnel. First up, we have Ms. Ann Lewis, Executive Director of TriCog Land Bank.
Thanks. Is there a clicker for the PowerPoint?
There is not. You just have to say next slide.
Okay, can we start? It's kind of in the middle. Can we start at the first one? Perfect. All right. I'm Ann Lewis, the Executive Director of the TriCog Land Bank. This is Natalie Boydston, who runs our operations. She's the director. Next slide. Just a little history. Some of you may have heard some version of this before, but just so that we're kind of all starting on the same page. The Land Bank was founded through state enabling legislation that happened in 2012 and was signed into law by the governor on, thank you, December 23rd of that year. So essentially 2013 was the first year. And it was one of a number of legislative tools that the state founded to really address the problem of blighted properties. It's a very common problem for post-industrial places where industry leaves, people leave, properties become abandoned, tax base declines, which is the ability to be able to deal with that abandonment, et cetera. So next slide. So we started in 2014 and we did a cost of blight report. And I think one of the most significant things about that report is that we learned that the biggest impact of problem properties that are distressed and abandoned is, while there is absolutely a financial impact on the local government, the biggest impact is on responsible property owners. Over 25% of properties countywide are within 150 feet of a property that is in poor, very poor, or unsound condition. And that means that their property is being devalued by at least 15%, and in some cases as high as 33%. So it's a huge problem. It trickles down, up, whatever direction we want to say on the taxing bodies, which is why our land bank, next slide, operates with the taxing bodies. What we're set up to do is really to work with our members to initiate. It's usually, most of our properties are acquired through tax sale, although we have accepted donations. Tomorrow I'm testifying at our second conservatorship hearing, but most of our properties have been acquired through tax sale. We work with our governing bodies, piggyback on your delinquent taxes, and we then work with our members to find the best use of that property. And the thing that we do, the sort of our secret superpower, is that we are able to clear title so that at the end of the day, we have insurable title. And so that when we sell a property to a new owner or transfer a property to a new owner, that owner can get title insurance, which, as you may know or may not even remember, it's an insurance policy that you buy to protect your asset, your house, at the time of sale. You pay for it one time. Properties that have all kinds of clouds, those entitlements need to be scrubbed and cleared before insurance policies will actually insure the title. So that's really what we do. Next slide. We have been operating since 2017. You were one of our beginning members. We acquired our first property in 2018. We have owned 105 to date. We have an additional 85 in our pipeline that we're looking to acquire. We have sold 50, and of those, 14 of them have satisfied their enforcement mortgage. So what that means is that when we sell a property that is in need of repair, most of our properties are, almost all of them, I don't even think we've ever gotten one that isn't in need of repair. And a lot of times those repairs are pretty substantial. The enforcement mortgage incorporates in their application their work plan that basically says it's a mortgage, not money, but it's a lien against the property of minimum of $25,000 that says they have to do what they said they would. And we have terms when they have to start work, they can't stop work, etc. It's a legal mechanism so that if somebody walks away, we can get the property back. Because the last thing we want to do is transfer a property to another owner that is not going to take care of it. So that enforcement mortgage gets us through the renovation process, and we satisfy the enforcement mortgage when they get an occupancy permit.
So does that mean there's 46 properties that have not satisfied that?
Yeah, because they're still being renovated. They're still in process. We monitor, we inspect them on a regular basis. It varies, but at least once every 6 months, we go out, physically look at the property. If we get a report from a neighbor or the municipality calls us, we go out more often. But our property development manager visits every one of those properties at least once every 6 months.
So you have a timeline for them to complete
Correct.
repairs?
Correct.
How many have not completed repairs and you took back ownership?
None.
Okay.
None. So next slide. And then focusing on your school district, of those 105 properties that we've owned in our footprint, 17 of them have been in your school district. We've sold 12. We have 5 that we currently own. We're in the process of acquiring 6 more. And the circles sort of say who has bought them. So a third of them have gone directly to an owner occupant. 8% have gone to a developer who has not said either way, and they're not done with their renovation, whether they will rent or sell. And 59% have gone to developers who have resold. Of those, 42% have gone directly to owner occupants, and 17% are still in the process of being renovated. We expect all of those to go to owner occupants, but we won't know until it actually happens.
Have any of them been satisfied that satisfied enforcement mortgage?
Yes.
Of those 17?
She could maybe tell you how many of those. I cannot.
I think, like, not for sure number, but probably of those, we've satisfied one owner occupant, and then, 3. Oh, yeah, it does, I did right. So we've satisfied 4 enforcement mortgages so far. One was an owner occupant, and the other were developers who resold, and we're pretty sure all of those went to owner occupants.
And so the next slide, and I'm just going to let these run. These are photographs. Everybody likes to see pictures. These projects these pictures are from 581 6th Street in Pitcairn, which we're about to list. This is our first project. It's a pilot of a new program we're starting called Reno Light, which is where we will do the basic repairs in order to make a house occupiable. Appliances, say furnace, it will satisfy with an occupancy permit. The bathroom in that one was a powder blue. A new owner may want to paint it. They may, we took the carpet out of the bathroom. But that Reno Light program is a new program that we're piloting and starting so that we can be better equipped to sell directly to an owner occupant. The houses that we're going for before Poplar went directly to an owner occupant, but her family was in the construction business. And so although it was a complete gut rehab, she really had the tools to do it. And hopefully, as you're able to see, as these photographs move through, many of these properties are in pretty bad shape when we get them. And through our being able to clear title and put them in the hands of a new owner, they're able to get renovated, and in many cases, fully renovated.
Now, do you do any of the renovations through the land bank?
So Reno Light is one. We are not ever going to be a construction company. I think a part of our secret superpower is clearing title, making sure that from a legal aspect, those properties are ready to roll. We are starting to do some light renovations, but the way that we can make the biggest impact is to stay in our lane and partner with organizations that are have expertise in construction. Those will be private developers who are basically responsible flippers. That leverages investment from the private market. And those properties, we have spearheaded programs where we give them, many of our properties we reserve for owner occupants for a period of time. We've developed a program where we will allow private developers who are willing to sign an agreement and escrow money saying that they will flip it and committing to selling to an owner occupant. For us, that's a win-win. We hold, depending on the sales price, we hold a certain amount of money in escrow until they're done and until they sell and that owner occupant moves in. So for us, that, like I said, leverages investment from the private market. In other, in neighborhoods where affordable housing is a need, or what is the word? Quality. I'm like saying quantity and I can't get it out. Quality affordable housing. There are nonprofit organizations that we have worked with where we have MOUs and we transfer the properties and they do the renovation. But beyond the Reno Light program, I don't envision us, doing renovations on 60% of our properties. It's just not, it would divide us too thin. And with so many properties underwater and such need for title clearing, and the fact that there are partners out there, both private and nonprofit and public funders willing to invest in that, we feel that it's a much better choice for us to keep our focus on what we were set up to do.
So,
Go ahead.
no, I was basically going to say, so as the school board or the district, we're not in, obviously into the business of making profits and so forth. How financially are we benefiting from your company?
Two ways. So we are a nonprofit. We are somewhere in between a nonprofit and a public agency. We are not a profit-making business. School districts, municipality, and the county sort of profit and benefit because your revenue comes from real estate tax. And if your properties are not contributing to the tax rolls, so all of the properties that we take are unoccupied. Somebody has left. Almost all of them, I would say maybe one in our history, has been tax current. And that was a donation, right? But none of them are contributing to the tax rolls. Once we sell them, somebody's living there and they're paying taxes to you. So you benefit directly in that way. The second way that you benefit is your residents who are responsible are no longer living next to a wreck. They're happier, your kids are safer, and then thirdly, when they go to sell their house, how many people would buy a house next to a wreck? Not me. Like, I fortunately am in a financial position where I could pay more and live down the street and still be in the same school district or go a couple blocks. And so indirectly, that hurts you because you have properties that are in good shape that are next to or across the street from a wreck that are assessing lower because of the wreck. So it's not just the individual property, it's the quality of the neighborhood. And one last part is that if you even expand that onion out, research shows that blighted properties correlate with poor health outcomes, lower test scores, higher incidence of disease, mental health, garbage accumulation. So all of those things come together to harm your residents, really.
What is the estimated time frame from the time that you acquire a blighted property to the time that the mortgage enforcement is complete?
Yeah.
So from when we have, okay, from when we, I guess there's a few different steps. So, most of our properties we acquire through share and sale. And the share and sale process generally takes us about, so even prior to us acquiring it, takes us about 9 months, and it can take up to 2 years for us to acquire a property. It's just the legal process. Once we acquire a property, we are responsible for the maintenance of the property during the duration of our ownership. So we will cut the grass. If there's public sidewalks, we remove the snow and put salt down. We start our properties through quiet title, which is another legal process in like groups, and that probably takes about 8 months to a year to get through. It's another legal process, and then during that time, we're generally cleaning out the properties. Also trying to figure out like if there's a hole in the roof, addressing that, and getting them ready to be listed for sale. So generally from like acquisition to then listing can take anywhere from like 8 months to a year, but they are being maintained, and there is somebody who's taking care of them and watching them during that time period. And then we list them, and that just kind of depends on the property in terms of interest in the property. For the enforcement mortgage, after we close, they have 3 years to complete all of the renovations. Most of them get done. We've had many get done prior to that. If they need an extension for some reason because something happened, they can always apply for a longer time. But we do check in with them every 6 months and make sure that the work is progressing.
So from the time you see something as share of sale to the time that this market could be about 5 years, not acquisition, but from the time you start to see.
No, I think that's, I guess theoretically it could be. I think that's probably not likely, but it is a couple years. And unfortunately, a lot of that is the law. There is Senator Fontana sponsored a bill that was just signed into law last month by the governor that will make the Allegheny County Sheriff's sale process faster. How much faster, we don't know, right? But unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do about it. And quiet title is another court action, but if we don't remove those liens, then your residents are vulnerable. And they could stand to jeopardize their investment if there's a cloud on the title and they're buying a property without title insurance. So it is long. At least half of that time, we're watching those properties. While we're waiting for them to go to sheriff's sale, anything could happen. And it has. A tree could fall down, and it has. And then, and things like that. But when we own them, when the tree fell down, we got it off and we fixed the roof. But properties that are sitting out there languishing, nobody's gonna pick them up. And they're gonna continue to sit until they need to be demolished.
How do you decide which properties? I mean, I know there are sheriff sales, but there's all kinds of sheriff sales. How do you determine which property you're going to invest in?
It's a process. We talk about it like sausage making, which maybe is or isn't the best analogy, but it has to do with whether or not we can actually get the property. So are there tax liens? How high are the liens? Is there some legal way for us to get the property? Where is the property? Is it across the street from a park? Is it the first thing that you see when you come into town? How bad is the property? Like, is it a demo or is it actually savable? Like, there are so many different things that go in, and we take our guidance from the communities. Most of that guidance comes from the municipalities. We work a lot with the code enforcement officers, but we also have, like, the former chair of our board was on the Shaler School District. He was very involved in which properties we took in his school district, and we welcome that because we know how to get the work done, but which properties are a priority, why, and what they should become should come from you, not from us. We're a professional service. We can provide experience, guidance. As we grow, we're trying to think through ways that we can better engage residents in those conversations. We just have not had the capacity to do that yet, but we're getting there.
So
But we can
someone sees
suggest properties.
an abandoned home in their community and they're concerned about it.
Absolutely, and that has happened, and we have acted in some of those cases. And not every abandoned house is a good candidate for the land bank at any given time, but absolutely, we need you to tell us where those properties are, and the very best time is right after someone leaves, because the property is still in good shape, relatively speaking. And most of our properties are full of stuff. We're not afraid of stuff. We're not afraid of peeling paint. But once there's a hole in the roof or a window gets broken or water starts infiltrating a structure, that's when it becomes more and more difficult for us or anybody else to bring it back. So the sooner we know that someone has died and their family is not present or doesn't want to deal with it, that is the best time for us.
I know you deal with other areas of your school districts. Can you just tell us who the other districts are
Oh,
where you're working?
yes, we have a lot. We have, 9 school districts now that we work in. We have Allegheny County, and we have 28 municipalities. We could try to list them for you. They actually, you know what? I think we gave you our strategic plan. You can see the map.
So a question that residents raise occasionally and a board member or two sort of relates to return on investment. But most people understand that the district invests in your operation. Does anyone know how much, by the way, does anyone know how much we actually,
It's on one of the budget.
anyway, when we get that,
Mike should know.
my guess, my assumption is there's really no way to quantify this return on investment because a lot of the benefits that you described are kind of macro. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. So to kind of wrap this up, how would you respond to that question about the district, which is to say the taxpayers' return on their investment?
So what I can tell you is that dollar for dollar, if you measure it very narrowly in terms of this is what we've paid in a given year and these are the tax dollars that we've gotten back in a given year, it'll always be a losing battle, right? But what I know from doing this work for almost 15 years now, blight is like cancer, right? It could be small, it could be big, it could be slow growing, or it could be very aggressive. If you don't have a strategy to address blighted property in your community, it will absolutely grow for exactly the reasons I've just said. A house will go on the market across the street. They can't sell it. They can't leverage their investment. A reassessment will happen. The values of all of the properties around it will be low, right? So what I can tell you is in our very short time, we have taken 17 properties in your school district and revitalized them, put people back in them, conceivably brought more children to your district. Like, that's what we've done. And so I can't tell you if it's a good investment or a bad investment for you. That's something you have to, sort of determine internally. But what I would say to you and anybody else is if you're going to measure it with a very narrow lens, it'll never pay for itself, which is why we're not a profit-making business. We're a nonprofit. We leverage. I raised $1.5 million to get this thing started. We get grant funding from the state. We're competing for, and I heard recently, a front runner for $750,000 of federal money. We will always work really hard to leverage other sources of money, and the fact that our members pay allows us to do that, and we'll continue to do that. But I can't tell you if it's a good or a bad investment. I'm biased. I think it's an excellent investment, but that's, I'm the executive director.
Excellent. Any more questions?
May I ask a question? I recently saw you all purchased a vacant lot in the community. What typically becomes of vacant lots that you purchase?
It's a very good question. More to come, but we do not shy away from things that are hard. There is a huge problem of abandoned vacant land in Allegheny County because there's no money in it. So if we don't do it, who will? So we are starting to produce a report about vacant land. In some cases, it could be a side yard. In some cases, we're going to start to assemble it. In other cases, what we always do is if we have a house and there's a lot and a lot, we'll take all three. And then when we sell them, we sell all three properties. Because in most of our communities, the population is declining. Natalie may know something specific about that vacant lot because she could still keep 107 in her head.
So we own 2 vacant lots in Monroeville, one on Elmwood and one on Interlochen. We're also in the process of acquiring 2 more vacant lots as well because they're a sheriff's sale. Those 2, the Evergreen and the Interlochen, there has been some expressed interest in one of them. The other one, the municipality submitted to us. There was actually a house in both of them, and they got demoed. But I know the one on, I think the one on Interlochen is a nice sized lot as well. Probably we'll talk to the municipality, probably we'll get them appraised, probably list them for sale, see if there's any interest there. A lot of times then if not, we'll put them in the side lot program, and you know that there's interested people in the neighborhood for them as well.
No, thank you.
Any more?
Yeah, Jack.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
hear me?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Sorry. I think 17 properties removed off of the blighted properties in our community is wonderful. I remember when we started this program and we were at like our first and second houses. I think it's really hard to put a price tag on removing blighted properties, and I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have data like on your purchase price and investment and the final seller or developer's sale price, you know, and what that profit margin is that goes to that person and whether there's any percentage of that comes to the school other than just tax returns that you mentioned?
So I don't know all the revenue sources for the school. So we do certainly have data on all of our costs, right? Our legal costs, our grass cutting costs, maintenance costs, anything we've invested, and our sales price to the next owner. In some cases, we know, like one of those slides, we know what they sold it for. To what extent the school district benefits from that financially, I think is based on your taxation policies. But what I can say, being a property owner, is that then resets the value of that house. So the house that's up there that sold for $244,000, that then hits the county assessment files. If you have a good solicitor, which you do, and a good tax collector, you're paying attention and you're making sure that that reassessed value happens and that you're now collecting on $244,000 as opposed to $50,000.
Yeah, that actually was the thing that triggered, you know, my question, which is, I know that there's a lot of expense in renovating, you know, properties, but there's also a lot of profit in that. And so do you, as an agency, ask for like a percentage of that profit, or is our only hope, you know, the tax? Like, I would think, you know, there's some major profit in renovating.
We do not. I don't even know if we could. I suppose anything's possible, but that's not really, that's a little bit too far removed from us. We do, but what I can tell you is, this is not what you're asking, but we do keep dibs and track of our developers. We make sure that they're responsible. We make sure we make sure that they don't have outstanding code violations other places. And we work really hard to be responsible, to not work with people who are predatory and speculators who buy properties and sit on them. You know, we have, one of the reasons why land banks were formed is we have flexibility to determine who buy. We don't have to sell to the highest bidder, and we don't have to buy from the lowest like governments do. We have a little bit more wiggle room, and so we can bake in responsibilities and beneficial reuse. I mean, the question about like who determines what you do with them when they're done. You guys do, and you tell us, and then we do our very best to make sure that those things happen, where green space may not be revenue producing, but it may be needed in certain communities whereas other communities need housing.
Ma'am, could you just for the record say your name, please?
My name is Ellie McCracken.
Gotcha.
But my real question is, I know people, have to present a list of the expenditures in the renovation for tax purposes. So it would seem that, their purchase price plus their list of renovations that they have to do for tax advantage, the sale price would tell you very easily what their profit was. And, is there any interest in getting some, percentage of that? Would
Well,
that be written in the law?
we would love to do that, but first of all, we don't create the law, and it's pretty clear based on the way this process works. This school district would never participate in whatever profit existed, nor if, for example, someone lost money, we're not responsible for that either, which could indeed happen. So we're removed a number of steps from the process that's been described. Indeed, some people probably will profit, almost certainly, because it's real estate, but they're also taking a risk, when they put their money in. I think the director has spelled out pretty thoroughly how we benefit. Your idea is great, but there's no mechanism for us to directly benefit after the sale of a sale of a property that involves profit, unless I'm mistaken.
No, and there's no mechanism for us to get that information. That goes to the IRS, right? And I'm certain that the IRS is not going to send us the tax returns from it. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to make light, but one of the things that we've had to filter through our lens of business practices is filtering out what's possible versus what's practical. And I think those are excellent thoughts about how to continue to benefit. But what I can tell you is indirectly, we work really hard to find local investors. We look hard to find people who are already living in community. So if they are making that income, the school district doesn't collect earned income, but the municipality does. So that we don't work with big corporations. We work with small mom and pop shop businesses and small flippers. And so indirectly, that money does come back to the community by making them healthy businesses who do pay tax in their communities.
Well, I would think even your agency would be interested in the possibility of a percentage of return on the profit.
If I felt that we could collect it, we would, but I think legally we would not be entitled to that.
If it's part of your original agreement, I would think that would be legally possible. But
I defer to the attorney who's shaking his head.
Absolutely not. What you're asking for is impossible. So you understand that.
I
Okay.
don't.
Well, that's where we should start. Your thought process is a good one, but it doesn't apply in this case. They're not in it for that type of business. They don't have the authority to do it, nor does this district have any authority to do it. And in fact, the more money that is generated out of this, the more the county, our district, and the municipality will make more money. So, the thought process here, hey, if somebody makes a lot of money, somebody's going to be paying earned income tax on that. If the property sells for more, we're going to be going in and securing a higher appraised value on the property. So all those things are good things for you.
I understand.
I mean, just because somebody makes a profit, we're not going to hold it against them.
I'm saying that. I'm just suggesting that the agency itself
Well,
benefits the state.
Well, for what it's worth, the land bank business, if I'm not mistaken, has been in business for a long time. And it's guided by a whole set of rules that are far removed and far above our pay grade. So as attractive as your idea sounds, as currently constituted, there's simply no mechanism to do it, no matter how much the TCLB would like to share in that profit. And by the way, they are a nonprofit. So I assume that even if they somehow did gather up some profit, they would be bound to, I don't even know what they'd do with the profit then. But the point is, the overarching point is your idea is interesting and has some appeal, but it's simply, there's no mechanism that exists right now that would allow that to be done. So you would have to talk to, if you're, Brandon Markosic would be a good place to start with an idea for how to do this. But again, there's only so much money to go around. So even fundamentally, if you started divvying up this profit that investors are getting to flip these, I don't know, maybe they decide, I don't want to do this because, why would I want to give more of my profit away? I'm in the business of not just resuscitating properties, but most of these folks are in the business of making some money, which is still a good thing in America. So I love your idea, but I don't see how it's going to work, and we're going to have to move on. So do we have any other questions for our director? No? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We all have a handout.
Just give me 30 seconds to say, I know of some church groups out there that go out into the neighborhood and they mow the grass, they clean up the lawn, they find the weeds. They do this for free, and it's unstructured, and it's a good thing. They don't get paid for it. They pick a street and they fix it up as well as they can, then they leave. So that's unstructured, and we don't throw money at that. Yours is much more structured, and you have a lot of rules, like Jack said, that you have to fall under. So rather than just throw money or throw warm bodies at it, we have to have both. I'm glad that we have both. The goal is to try to help folks in our neighborhood. So I'm glad at what you do. I'm glad at what the church groups and other groups do. So, and it's not perfect. It ain't perfect, and that's okay.
Don't let the pursuit of perfect get in the way of the good. Did I make that up just now? I don't think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. And if anybody has any other questions at any time, our business cards are in there. Call us. We're always happy.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you so much.
Hey, before we get on to our next
We're
subject.
going to leave if that's okay.
No, it's not. Have a seat, please. There was a building and grounds meeting August 2nd, right?
Yes.
Correct? August 2nd? Yes? Okay. So we have comments from residents on agenda items. No one called in advance? That part I did say. Yep, you did that. Sure. All right, none. Let's move on to board members, discussion items. Who wants to go first? Who has anything?
Yeah, I could just say that, remember about a week or two ago when we had our previous meeting, we got together and we thought it would be good to tell the legislature a list of things that are on our minds that we wanted them to work on. We went through the channel of the PSBA, and the PSBA came out with a little weekly blast today that just about word for word, the part that we sent in about use of artificial intelligence in school, they made a 2 or 3 minute presentation on that saying, you know what, artificial intelligence technology is coming to schools. We need to think about it, prepare for it, use it well. So, we're leading the pack on this.
Nicely done.
Well done, Guy Rossi. I mean, he and Dennis, you had some good input. They included that input. So, here we go.
Thank you, John. Ms. Delaney? No. Ms. Warning?
Nothing, thank you.
Over here. Ms. Mungo. Scotty Williams. Dr. Singh, he's still with us.
Thank you. Yes, very much, very much. Yeah, thank you. I don't have anything to add, okay?
Thank you. Ms. Sarucci, you?
No, not at this time, thanks.
What was that? Okay, thank you, I think. We're going to move on now. Dr. Rossi, take over.
We have section B, financial report.
Thanks, Dr. Rossi. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves sections B1 list of bills and B2 financial statements as listed.
Do what you do. Me. Okay. We need a motion or need a motion? Because we're going next. Okay. No worries. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, me too.
We have items tabled we have to address.
That we do. So I want to read the item tabled. Somebody's help us out. Come on, man. We're new up here. Ms. Delaney, read the table item, please.
Let me take my glasses, okay. Resolve that the Gateway School Board of Directors approves and authorize as appropriate the following item, as listed in Section C at the regular board meeting of Tuesday, August 15, 2023. Do I need to read that? If any section clause? Yes. If any section, clause, provision, or portion of this resolution for Section F shall be, she said, read it. The following item was tabled at the Wednesday, May 17, 2023 regular board meeting, then removed from the table at the Wednesday, July 19, 2023 special board meeting, and then tabled again at the Wednesday, July 19, 2023 special board meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion has been made on table.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that is untabled. Now, do we want to talk about why it's untabled and where we go next? Can we get right to it? Mr. Hall, you want to explain where we are?
Yes, we negotiated using our fee schedule and what we felt was a fair arrangement with our visitors that was amenable to both parties. We put a number together that we thought did right by the district. We did some research with the turf company that we're not going to be in any kind of issue with the turf's longevity. We have very comfortable about the replacement and the warranty, no matter what the amount of games are. So we feel like we're in a position where we're earning the most we should earn in a fair price market from the vendor that is asked to use our baseball field on at least an annual basis in the foreseeable future.
So do we need that, actually say what the numbers are before we vote on it, yes?
You're not gonna.
Oh, we're not going to vote, we're on table, yes, got it,
It's just on table.
got it. All right,
So next week, that'll be on your agenda, and you'll have the other alternative that has been worked out on your agenda. And you'll just, if you can pick either or neither.
got it. Thank you. We had another item that was tabled. How do we stand on that? We're leaving that alone? What are we doing?
Shaw Sports Turf, the Turf to Gateway Middle School renovation project baseball field as depicted. I sent a spreadsheet out to the board last week with the 4 different options. And first option is the infield, seeding the grass in the outfield, fence and dugout pads, a total grass field for $505,350. Second was all the above, but a sod infield area with an irrigation system for a cost of $625,350. Turf the infield only. Seeded grass in the outfield, no irrigation system for $641,737. And the last option is a turf to complete field, fencing, backstop, and dugout pads for a total of $1,163,406.
I'd like to make a motion on the table.
Second.
That motion has been made and seconded. I hear a roll call, let's just vote on that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so that has also been untabled.
Do we need any type of understanding of this?
That'll be on the agenda then for next week?
It's on this one.
Yeah.
It'll be on your agenda next week.
With the options. So on our agenda next week will be the 3 options that Mike just laid out. So folks have a week to review these options again, or continue to, and next week we'll vote on which of those we find most appealing.
Jeff, one more small piece of background. We did have a Buildings and Grounds meeting about this. If folks from the community want to go back and replay that, there's a lot more explanation that you just go out to the YouTube website for the Gateway School District. You can get all the background on this. And so we have 2 alternatives. We asked for input at that meeting from the public. I don't know that I have gotten any, or maybe other school board members have. But there's still time to weigh in on that. Get in touch with your school board member. Let them know what you think about either one or the other or neither of these options that we'll be voting on next week.
And one last thought on this. In our budget, Mike, we had budgeted for which of these? Do you recall?
We budgeted 640,000. So anything above and beyond that, and I showed we were doing very well in our investments of just in the construction fund, we made 603,000 to date. So that's just a way to pay for it if the board decides to, or to use that 603,000 for all the change orders that have gone past the threshold of 4.2 million.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mike.
Just putting that out there is a way to pay for it if you want to go that route.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying.
Share at that Building and Grounds Committee meeting that one consideration that certainly has to not be overlooked is the Title IX issue. The fact that we're going to be playing softball on synthetic turf fully. Typically, the only times that Title IX things crop up in high school athletics are baseball and softball, as we discussed when we were putting the conference in
Right.
here. They're the only ones that play on separate facilities. This would be atypical in the sense that most of the time softball gets the short stick and they're the ones with the grievance.
Right.
In this case, we would be, putting a different surface down for our male athletes. And again, I think we would be exposed for potential Title IX issues.
Could you explain why the softball is going to be turfed?
It's built into the the football and soccer turf stadium. We've integrated that field. The dimensions are such that we can fit that on a diagonal right into our turf that we've put in place for our football and soccer. So they're going to be playing on a turf field that they share with soccer and football.
Thank you.
So because you integrated the softball field into an already existing field that already has two purposes of football and soccer, we actually didn't have to build a softball field.
Correct. And we would have certainly had to build a softball field had we not done that, a separate one for them at the same facility.
Got it.
And we would have been in the other direction.
Any other questions concerning this? Nope. All right, let's move on to Section D.
All right, with some action items.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. We have 6 resignations on the personnel agenda, one of which includes Heather Bungard, our Director of Pupil Services. She's leaving the district after 21 years of service. We'd like to thank her and recognize her for that dedication. Additionally, we have 3 leave of absences, 2 transfers, a total of 9 hires, including 6 teachers, 2 custodians, and 1 paraprofessional. Various supplemental contracts for the upcoming school year, and 5 volunteers.
So moved. That motion has been made and seconded. Do I hear any questions on the personnel section? I do not. Let's have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Ceruti.
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney.
Aye.
It's this one.
Mrs. McBride. Aye. Ms. Mundo. Aye. Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Dr. Singh.
Aye.
Mrs. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye. Aye. And the ayes would appear to have it. Thank you. Going to keep going? You want to talk about the supplemental contracts at all, or no?
I covered all of it. Supplementals are all included in what I had already said, along with the 5 volunteers on the back of page 5.
Nature of our supplemental contract. This isn't the right time. I'm sorry, Ms. Morning and I are discussing supplemental contracts. As you know, I keep wondering and sort of discussing the
Rhyme and reason.
vagaries of our system, and everyone nods yes and assures me that we'll find some time to discuss how we can at least explain the differences or make sense of them. So I'll just keep doing that till my term's up. So that'll be fun for everyone. All right, thank you, ma'am. Next, we're going to go on to conferences, yes?
Yep, we have section E, Dr. Chase is going to take section E, and action items, section F.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. In Section E, we have an action item for 2 individuals to attend the National Autism Conference from August 1st through the 4th.
So moved. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? This is already over.
It does appear to be, doesn't it?
I just wanted to make that.
I was on vacation, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It wasn't, it didn't have anything to do with my vacation.
I
We
know,
should have
I'm
done
not
that
saying it.
beforehand, right?
That's fine.
All righty, let's move on to section F.
And moving on to section F, we have several action items, starting with number 1, approve the educational services agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit for the purchase of special education services during the 23-24 fiscal year. Item number 2, approve the agreement with EduPlanet. Item number 3, approve the agreement with EduLink for the purchase of Comply and PAETEP custom forms. Item number 4, approve the agreement with Keystone Education Consulting for pupil services, special education services.
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Excellent.
Right, section F, we have some discussion items. Dr. Jakey?
Item number 1, approve the college and high school course Honors Anatomy and Physiology through Carlow University for a total of 8 college credits. Item number 2, approve the letter of intent in MOU with Carnegie Mellon University. Item number 3, approve the agreements with the Valander Group for cyber security training. Item number 4, approve the 23-24 school year calendar revisions. October 6th in-service becomes a school day, and January 2nd becomes an in-service day. Graduation class of 2024, May 29th date moved to June 3rd, 2024.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rossi. Item 5, sponsor-to-sponsor agreement with the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh and the Pennsylvania Department of Education as listed. Item 6, Gateway Middle School renovation project baseball field as listed. Item 7, facility agreement Atlantic Coast Sports Exhibit 2 follow.
Thanks. Hey, can I back up a moment? Dr. Chakey, could you explain a little bit more about the CMU project? That looked pretty exciting for the district.
We're exploring a MOU with Carnegie Mellon University to offer tutoring to our students within Mosside Middle School. This will be something that'll be available to all students, and it'll be handled directly through the principal, Mike Jack, and Lindsay Love.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Yeah, thanks.
Can I ask why we're moving the graduation date?
This is to remain in compliance with Pennsylvania Department of Education. In years past, we just want to make sure that this year we have 180 days for our seniors, and the way that we can be in compliance with this is to move and shift the date.
Were we in compliance this last year? I mean, the
This
graduation was the 28th or something.
Last year, we had 182 school days. This year, we have 180 because we used 2 in-service days to help the Wayside move, so that impacts them as well.
All right, we're on to section G, board member resolution.
We have one board member
Yeah,
resolution. Mary
whose is
Beth.
this? Mary Beth, you want to do your resolution, or you want someone else to read it?
Can someone read it since I'm driving and I can't really read while I'm driving?
Resolved that the Gateway School Board of School Directors approves and authorizes as appropriate the following item as listed in section G, board member resolutions at the regular school board meeting on Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. Policy 709 revision. Approval to place the following revised policy on 30-day public display. Policy 709, building security. Note 709 can be viewed in the board docs under policies on display.
So we have that in our packet. And,
Do you want me to paraphrase it?
well, I'm looking at it right now. So the one line that has been stricken is, this relates to electronic access to the buildings. After hours and weekend access, all clearance-approved board members will be given unlimited access to the administration building only, not all buildings. there was a sentence that came after that, which says, "Who desire electronic access will be given unlimited access district-wide upon request." So, Ms. Rucci, if you want to just, paraphrase and explain exactly that, or you'd like me to, that'd be fine.
Yeah, so right now, as it stands, any board member that's cleared can access any and all of our buildings 24/7. And when we're reevaluating the security of our buildings, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to have 9 badges out there that could be intercepted or picked up that will open any and all of our buildings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I suggest that we modify it to make it only the admin building, because that's where we go for meetings with the superintendent, and that's where we have our school board meetings. And then just go with what a lot of other schools do, is if you have a need to get into another building, you just make arrangements with the principal or you buzz in. And there's always special times when technology can, add for a special event or something, board member access. But I think as a board, we need to really acknowledge, why do we need 24/7 access to every single building? Is that beneficial? Is that safe? And then another side note is, after being on the school board for almost 8 years, anytime a board member walks into a building, there is some level of anxiety by the staff. And then there's also an obligation from the staff to give their attention to that board member. And sometimes that can take our staff away from their job. So there's a couple other, I think, secondary reasons other than security why we should discuss this and consider modifying this policy.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Yep, thank you for summing that up. Just to be clear, my presence never brings anxiety. I just want to say, but I will follow the rules that apply to everybody. Does anyone else have any questions or thoughts about that?
So is this going to be affecting then, we just gave access to all our coaches. Is this going to affect that?
I don't think coaches are mentioned anywhere in here.
So coaches can get in 24/7, but board members can't?
No, that's not true.
No, I'm just going, since the way that it's.
Are you saying that coaches can access any building at any time 24/7? Is that what you're saying?
We're saying that that's false.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Well, we'll look into
I don't know that to be true at all. I thought that
They're.
No, we have limited access for specific coaches on which campus they're on, which buildings they normally inhabit. So we cannot, you can't get in Evergreen if you're the basketball coach at midnight. No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. No other questions? That's something else, food for thought for next week?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
So the way I see it, the board members have limited number of privileges, and access to the building is one of them.
I'm sorry, Dr. Singh,
Limited access
The
to.
board members have a limited number of privileges, and one of them is access to the building. And I think we should put faith in board members and leave that alone.
All right, well, that again will be food for thought for your 8 colleagues to consider. And if they have any questions about that, Dr. Singh, I'm sure would be happy to discuss that at length, right?
I'm sorry, what was he trying?
He's saying we should continue to have this access and exercise our good judgment in utilizing it. I'm sorry to step in on there, right, Dr. Singh?
Yes.
Yep.
So my question is why? I think, why do board members need 24/7 access to all buildings?
Well, I was gonna say maybe work a little bit in between and have access from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. depending on the time of year or something. I agree, we don't need to be walking into buildings at 2 a.m. I don't think that's been a problem throughout the years, and somebody can tell me if I'm wrong.
No, it's actually more of a problem when we walk in at 2 p.m. Our presence changes not only the dynamic when we're there, but our presence also creates for the staff occasionally a bit of confusion about how they go about, for example, solving problems. Some staff think that a suitable way of solving a problem is to go directly to a board member, because obviously we're accessible and our job is to represent and to respond. But when staff becomes accustomed to doing that, they start to circumnavigate the appropriate and existing systems for solving their problems or getting information or getting their voice heard. So our presence at 2 p.m. is far more problematic than, you're right, 2 a.m. I don't know who's in here at 2 a.m. and I don't want to know. But so it's not about the 2 a.m., it's about the 2 p.m. and it's about our actual role in the school and in the community. For me, at least.
Well, and safety and security of our buildings. We want to keep our buildings secure.
That part was covered, absolutely. There are 9 of these all access passes floating around, and it doesn't take much.
I agree very much.
Some people don't have them activated, including Dr. Singh. Is yours activated? I'm curious.
I don't know.
That is why you're my favorite board member by a mile, or at least second. All right, any other questions on that? Nope. All right, what do we got next? We got comments from residents on non-agenda items. Nothing, we got nothing. All right. Let's move on to reports. Take over, Dr.
You know what,
Russell.
actually, can I make a comment on resident non-agenda items?
Sure.
I have been talking to parents, and I have not personally had this problem, but we are still having a problem with the Barksdale photos. Has that been brought to your, we have suggested the Mosside Middle School yearbooks and photos. Some parents have not received their photos that they purchased for 2 years. That has been.
Give us their information.
Yeah, I'll give you their information. I have, and others have said, email, the school. But we did look into this contract, if I remember at some point.
I'm going to turn this over to Mike.
I've made several attempts to get a hold of them through email, through phone. I've never had any response. And I think Miko's even tried through his channels, and we've hit a roadblock.
And I've heard that from parents, like they're not returning emails, they're not returning phone calls.
Can our solicitor help with this?
Sure.
Yeah, let me try to read. When we've reached out through Ms. Estok, they've had success. So I'll talk to her. She has a contact there. We'll look into it.
Well, can we revisit using them this year, or is it too late?
It may be too late. We'll have to check the agreement.
Okay.
I mean, this would be breach of contract if you have parents that have paid for and have not received.
I think it's time to.
We would need
take it up a
that
notch.
information if it would be helpful.
Okay, I'll get you that information.
I know Mike has received some information from the PTO from Mosside. There's over 1,000 retakes that haven't been given yet. So that's the concern that they've had in the years past. And I had brought that to Mike's, we have spoke about that, so.
Yeah, we can look
I
into the
emailed
breach
the
of
contract to the
finding
board.
somebody else.
Did I email it? I thought I already emailed the contract to the board. If not, I'll resend
I
it.
was gonna say, I want to say we visited this, but then.
What's that?
Okay.
Let's put you on this. Okay.
Mr. Dice.
Mr. Dice is ready to go.
Get me a copy of the contract, and what you've done, a little summary, whatever it is, an address and a name.
Well, in the yearbook.
Draft off the document to the.
Okay.
Because the retakes haven't been sent back to the school, to the PTOs.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I have a good story after
I feel like
this
you
concludes,
cleared
so
the
stay
room.
tuned.
I do what I can.
All right, sorry,
I do what I can.
that was my resident on.
That hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I know.
All right, what do we got? We're done.
We do have some.
Yeah. We got some other stuff here.
Mike, I'll just close it off here. Administrative update.
Everybody, hi, Dr. Singh.
Micah's doing his thing.
wanted to provide some updates for the board. You can go ahead, Mike, go to the next slide. Just a Gateway Middle School update. I'm sure maybe Val will talk about this in the board reports, but again, this is all pending board approval. The January 3rd would be the students' first day based off the information that was provided at that committee meeting. Because of that, we did revise the school calendar, again, pending board approval. That will give us some time. December will be filled with orientation activities, a school visit or 2 or 3, whatever it takes to make sure the kids are comfortable moving in and the staff. So more information will be coming from the Mossad Middle School administration. Next slide. Just wanted to recognize our elementary principals today. I know there was a gator found in the Kiski River. There was a gator floating around Monroeville and Pitcairn too. So our elementary principals went out today trying to do a last-minute kindergarten blitz. So I just wanted to acknowledge their efforts there, and we're just trying to get this kindergartners in on time. So next slide, Dr. Jakey.
A little bit of back-to-school information. August 9th, the Skyward information will go live at 4 p.m., so be sure to watch for that. August 10th, grade 9, new student orientation at the high school. We also have the grade 5 orientation at Mossad on August 15th. Also, the first day of school, August 24th, is fast approaching, and keep on your calendars August 31st to meet the teacher at K4 at all elementary schools.
Next slide, Mike. Go.
Are parents the only ones that can have access to Skyward?
Yes. We could talk about the Skyward notification. We have a new notification system that we'll be able to blast out to everybody.
Okay.
We're in the process of writing the district's comprehensive plan that'll be submitted to PDE, and we're currently seeking parent community participation. You can sign up via email blast to families or on the website.
All right, next slide, Mike. Go. Mike.
Gateway Education Foundation, we've had one meeting. There's some concern among people in the community who want to get it started again. It's a great thing. It's to create support for educational programs with the Gateway School District, provide funds beyond a normal budget for educational programs and activities for students and staff, enhance student achievement and skill development, recognize and encourage staff excellence, and expand community involvement. Just as a side note, we did receive $14,000 last year from Dollar Bank and Waste Management as part of the EITC program, and it was designated for robotics, so we were able to use that funding to help pay for the trip for the robotics team.
Thanks, Mike. And it's my understanding more information is to come.
Right.
Because I think they're very close to getting that in the hands of the board, the bylaws and everything. So next slide, Mike.
Transportation the restaurants will be activated in Skyward, I guess, on the August 9th date along with them. It's just a couple changes said. Bus times will be adjusted all the start of school. I urge parents to continue to check the Skyward council for accurate bus times on their first day.
Bonnie, can I just ask a question? When the move takes place, how will that affect everybody?
The package is just for middle school students, and what we can do is, when during the Christmas break, adjust all bus times accordingly, because depending on the side of about 22 hours, we live on it, it takes more time to get to one side than the other. So we will be doing time adjustments on the middle school runs, and in that time, we'll probably have to send a message out to parents, notify them they need to get the bus times, revised bus times for the middle school students up until this January.
Thank you.
Next slide, Mike.
During the month of August, long-term school records are being honored across the state by the PSBA and local school board meetings. School records are recognized for years of service from 8 years and up. Tonight we would like to recognize the following board members for their 8 years of service to the community and Gateway School District: Mary Beth Cerrucci, John Ritter, and Valerie Warren.
And we want to do this more, John.
These 3 board members will be added to the PSBA honor roll for school board service.
There'll be cake or something, right?
No, we don't need that.
Cake. We'll get something out of this.
Okay, Mike, next slide. Yeah, the last slide, just there'll be a ton of information coming from building principals and even teachers, so we're encouraging families to check Skyward and the building website that their child goes to. So that's all I have.
And make sure their emails are up to date in Skyward and phone numbers so they get all the blasts and text messages for what they want to receive. Double check what you want to receive, rather email or text message or both.
Okay, Chalk, quick question. Has everybody that is participating in the fall sports had their physicals in?
No, physicals, we asked them to be in 2 weeks prior to the first practice, which was the beginning of the month. Actual practice starts on the 14th, so we still have some room. We're close in most sports, but I'm sure there's going to be student athletes that show up, as they do every year, that do not have their physicals and can't participate that first day, which is what we have to do with those individuals when that occurs.
That's what I just wanted
I
to
feel
bring.
pretty good about the numbers that we've received. We did, not to prolong things, but we did add an additional in-school physical offering for $15 this year, which again, both June and July were well attended. It was a good event for everybody.
Has there ever been a problem with someone not being able to get the physical because of finances? Do you have a way if that happens?
Well, we can't control a lot of that. I mean, we can do the $15 one on site. We can encourage them to do that. Other than being a benefactor, if they can't go to their own PCP, it has to be Med Express, and it's not like we can assist. So we don't have a policy in place to pay for a physical for somebody, which would really be the only way we could get an official physical. I'm sure the doctor wouldn't, donate it.
No.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear some board committee reports. Anybody have anything? Ms. Longo? Nothing. Mr. Ritter? Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Nothing to see anything, Mr. President.
Susan and I, we both were fortunate to attend the Lion King Kids performance that they had last Friday, and it was phenomenal. The kids got their parts Monday morning, and the play went off Friday, and it was really, really good.
Phenomenal.
It was with conjunction with the Monroeville Parks and Recs and the school district, and it was just, it was really good. You just smiled the whole time. It was great.
And we just hope that when they do this, we actually had suggested maybe they can do something during the school year, but we always want to see more attendance. I mean, I don't know if it wasn't well advertised, a lot of people didn't know about it or what, but we felt there should have been a little bit, maybe more publicity, whether through, I don't think it was in the Times Express or anything. So that way, these young kids, I mean, they were just phenomenal at that age to get in front of a crowd and do what they did. We really couldn't say enough about them for doing that. And also, just because historically, today, August 8th, 1863, Tennessee military governor Andrew Johnson freed enslaved people. The 8th of August is a pivotal point in American history. It is a significant part of the history of emancipation and freedom in the state of Tennessee. So I thought that was very interesting. Those that are history buffs, and even if you're not, just so you learn a little bit more information. It's called the 8th, today is considered the 8th of August Jubilee.
Thank you.
Today is National Pickleball Day, too. Pickleball Day. Hey,
Great idea. That's
we may be, I think there was talk, maybe we might be putting one here. But anyhow, hey there. Good job.
Dr. Singh, do you have anything tonight?
No, thank you. Not this time.
How are you feeling, Dr. Singh?
I'm feeling okay. My knee is coming along, and I think pretty soon I'll be able to kick better.
And you're driving now?
Yeah, just around Monroeville, I can drive.
And you really actually had knee replacement surgery?
Yes. I can give you proof.
I'd like to see proof. It's the yoga. He did yoga.
You did excellent. Well, thank you, Dr. Singh. Mr. Ritter.
If I may say a warm thank you to my mom. She turned 90 years old 2 days ago. We had a big party for her at Pugliano's. She put 11 kids through this school, and I don't know how many spouses and innumerable nephews and nieces and grandchildren. So by herself, she's earned, some sort of a medal of freedom for all the work that she's done, putting up with me and all the rest of the Ritters and the in-laws and the outlaws. So, Mom, we love you.
She hear you.
She always watches these things. That's why I always say, let's get these things broadcast. Who watches it? My mom watches it faithfully. So, Mom, we love you.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Ritter.
Yeah, happy birthday.
You probably got cake, didn't you, Mrs. Ritter? Sure. Ms. Mungo, nope. Okay, we're left with you, Ms. McBride.
No, we're good, thank you.
Nothing for me, thanks to what I hear. Did we finish you?
I didn't finish. I just
No,
want
no,
to say, can we just address to let people know what's happening with the lunches this year for students?
I've actually asked Martin to put a skyward blast out there because I've seen a lot of activity online about questioning, and there's a lot of individuals who don't work for the district responding. So I felt like it was needed for us to make a statement with regard to free lunches for the upcoming school year. So you can expect that through Skyward within the next few days here.
Say she checked out. I'm sorry, Scotty's.
That's it.
Mary texted me to say she has gone on she has to.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, that's what I'd like to hear. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody.
You're already up.